Congratulations, you've arrived at the end of the MOOC. ADHD crossed the lifespan, and we've covered quite a bit of material together. And with Maud, we're going to try to just summarize a bit what we talked about in the different modules.
Yeah, so in the first module, we have discussed the diagnostic criteria of ADHD and the different symptomatic dimensions like inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. And we have also discussed important aspects about the assessment of this condition, such as the need to have multiple informants about the symptoms. We have also discovered that there are some similarities across patients with ADHD, but also important differences between patients with ADHD.
And that led us to Module 2, where we discussed guidelines, which really are the principles to follow when treating individuals with ADHD. And these principles are going to vary according to the age of the individual with ADHD. We also talked about comorbid problems. So these are problems that come with ADHD more often than not. As well, these problems can vary according to age and developmental stage of the individual. Finally, we discussed differential diagnoses principles, which mean that we don't want to confound manifestations of ADHD with other types of manifestations of problems that may co-occur. So again, the principle here is that according to the age, these differential aspects may differ as well.
Module 3 was devoted to the neurobiology of ADHD, and so we have discussed that ADHD is associated with several aspects of brain development. It doesn't happen in the knee, of course. And we have also discussed how medication and psychopharmacology can be important in the treatment of ADHD in order to reduce some of the symptoms. We have also discussed the benefits, but also the limits of such medication.
And that leads us really to Module 4, which is about psychological interventions. So in that module, we talked about the different types of targets for the interventions. For example, diagnostic symptoms, but as well associated problems, and the psychological processes that underlie these manifestations. So attentional processes, obviously, but also memory processes, regulation processes, as well as interpersonal processes. We then moved on to modalities of treatment, so psychoeducative principles, group interventions, as well as individual interventions. So we really covered the whole spectrum of interventions.
Yeah, and in Module 5, we discussed about skills building and the importance of developing new skills in the context of ADHD. And we discussed how this was relevant, for example, in cognitive remediation program or in social skills training. And we also discussed about really practical tips to decrease the impact of impulsivity in the context of daily life. And finally, we have discussed that people with ADHD are at risk of an excessive use of screen and video games, and we have discussed about practical tips to reduce these difficulties when they emerge.
And that led us to the final module, Module 6, where the topic of accommodation was the key topic. Indeed, not only for the child and the school environment, but also the adolescent and adults with ADHD, where accommodations can be planned both at the workplace, but also in the family life, perhaps in the couple, to really try to build strategies to find solutions in the situation where the most salient problems actually manifest themselves.
So here we are at the end of this MOOC on ADHD, and we would like to really thank you to have followed all of this content. Whether you're a person with ADHD, a relative, or a professional, we hope that you have found relevant but also useful information in this content.
We really wish you a good journey.